Hey guys, it's Kelly. Welcome back. Today I'm going to be sharing a step-by-step guide for how to repress a powder. So specifically, I'm going to be working on my Mary Luminizer from the Balm. I have a giant pan on this, so anytime I dip into it, it is beginning to crumble a little bit, and I've had so many requests to do this. I did also but I did share a little step-by-step tutorial on my Instagram. But you guys had so many requests for me to film an actual video about this, so I really hope that this is helpful. The first portion of this video, you will see me repressing this, and then in the second half, I'm going to give you guys a little bit more information and just some things to be aware of while you're repressing. So let's go ahead and hop into the demo. All right, so you're going to want to start off by breaking everything, and this is going to be so painful to do, but you want to just break everything up. And to do this, I'm just using the end of a brush, but I've also seen people take this whole product out and put it into a little baggie and then crush it up in there. But basically, you just want to crush it up as finely as possible. So it should look like this. And then you want to take a little bit of rubbing alcohol and start to drip that in. Now, definitely start small and add more as you need it. At the end of this video, I'll share a couple alternatives if you don't want to use rubbing alcohol, but I've never had any issues with it. But you're just going to sit there and try to move it around until it starts to form kind of a paste. So I ended up dripping in a little bit more than I meant to, but it's not a huge deal really. You can just kind of work it around until you get a nice texture. So now that I have a nice putty texture, I'm going to start kind of shaping it. Now I'm still just using the same end of a brush that I've been using this whole time, but you can also use a knife or a spoon to really smooth it out. So it's still not like perfectly around the sides or anything, but it's really not a huge deal. So I'm going to take a piece of paper towel, fold it at least twice, and then I'm going to place that on top. Now I've heard people say that they recommend taking something like this that has a flat bottom where you can push into it, and I used to do that, but I find that I get the same result basically, just kind of pushing it in with my fingers. Now, because I put a little bit too much oil on, or not oil, rubbing alcohol, you're gonna see this gets very wet. It's kind of just taking out the excess alcohol. So that's what it looks like after one press. I'm gonna fold so that I have a dry side and then press into it a little bit more. Now, this is kind of fun because you can press a different design into your product if you want to. You can get like a cool pattern and then just press it in and it will dry like that. Now you can kind of see it's not totally around the edges there, and I'm nervous that it'll try to crumble if I leave it like that. So what I'm gonna do is take my towel and try to just push the product over and work it that way so I get a little on the side. Definitely not a huge deal, but I think it'll be kind of a proactive way to prevent this from crumbling too much. And then I just kind of take my time pushing into it, just trying to get out any excess product, but also making sure that this is laying as flat as possible without any bubbles or anything. But there you have it, good as new. I'm gonna let this sit overnight so that it can dry, and now I'm gonna share with you guys a little bit more information in the next clip. All right, so that was a quick guide to repressing, but I did also wanna mention a couple things to keep in mind. First of all, as the product is drying, or especially after it's first finished, it's going to be very dark because it's wet, but don't panic. The first time I repressed a product was a bronzer, and I was like, why is this bronzer so dark? This isn't even gonna work for me anymore. Don't worry, it will dry down to the original color. Also note that depending on the product and the formula of it, it's going to be a little bit different when you finish it. So don't be surprised if the product now is a little bit more hard pressed than it used to be, or if the product has a ton of kickback now and it did not before. That is sometimes a result of repressing. The formula itself is not going to change, but just the texture and consistency of it might be altered slightly, but nothing too significant. In my experience, most things tend to be a little bit fluffier after I repress them. So one thing that you can do is just to use a little bit more pressure with the paper towel when you're pushing down to really make sure that you're packing the product in so there's not as, it's just more firmly pressed basically. But also, you do want to be careful with that until you really get to know formulas, because I have had powders that I have repressed and then they were so hard for me to get the product out. So I don't mean for any of this to scare you, but just keep in mind that there is a chance that that consistency will change. And finally, I wanted to talk about some potential alternatives if you do not feel comfortable putting alcohol in yours. Now, I have never had any issues. I've repressed probably a dozen products before using alcohol. I don't notice any irritation on my skin or any changes in the product, but I know not everyone is going to feel comfortable putting rubbing alcohol in their products. So one alternative that you can use is a setting spray. I have not tried this, but I've seen videos of people achieved a similar result just using a setting spray. I've also seen videos, and this will kind of depend on the formula of the product and how much moisture is in it, but I've seen videos where people were able to just push it back down and use pressure to put it back together, and it held in place. So if you guys have any alternatives that you can use besides alcohol, in addition to the ones that I mentioned, definitely leave a comment down below to help other viewers. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. If it was, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!